Welcome back everyone to the first video in this series, preparing for Wrath of the Lich King on a fresh account. I'm really excited to share with you my journey. I'm prepping for the next expansion, and I've quit and come back from Classic and TBC. I'm hoping it's going to be different this time around in Wrath, and I'll play all the way through the X-Pack without giving it a break. But without any further ado, we're coming back. I had to start over fresh, and I want to share with you my experience in the first 3 weeks on Benediction Alliance. And my character is looking pretty ornamented. He's got a lot of jewelry on him. I also haven't filled in a couple pieces in 3 weeks, but I even have the Karazhan round. It's kind of crazy. But let's run around the city. I'll run to the bank, show you all my assets and how I got to this point. And I'd also like to share with you what I would do differently if I had to do this again and start over on a fresh account. Maybe you can learn something or just compare my experience to yours in preparing for Wrath of the Lich King. So I was pretty fortunate in having somebody from stream loan me my first 6,000 gold, and they continued to hook me up, and I'm now 20,000 gold in the hole. But as you can see, 3 weeks of playing the game and 20,000 gold up front has gotten me all of these things. I've done 1 Black Temple, 1 SSC, and 1 TK as a GDKP pure buyer. So I didn't get a cut, but I was able to bid on everything. I don't remember how much each individual piece was, but I got like my Bis neck. So I also got my Bis cloak. I got the Paladin trinket to drop, all from TK. I don't think I'm going to revisit TK or SSC because the tier 6 is so good. But even pieces like this I still have from Steam Vaults. I got my tier 5 chest. I got Karazhan bracers. Anyways, I'm down to my last 1,000 gold. I'm actually getting ready to boost 4 other characters of my own going into Wrath of the Lich King. I want to play every single tank class, and so I'm kind of a little bit somewhat obsessive with these things whenever I do it, and I just kind of go all out. And so if I'm going to boost 1 other character, I might as well boost 3 others as well. So there's some things I still want to do in TBC before Wrath of the Lich King comes around, such as the Double Mage Shadow Labs boost. And I'd also like to have that set up so that I can boost my own Death Knight come pre-patch. So there's a lot of planning to go, a lot of game to be played before Wrath of the Lich King gets here. So I just wanted to give you an idea of how far I've come in almost 1 month of getting back into things on a fresh server. And fortunately or unfortunately, it's a serious case of the rich get richer. And very much like in real life, if you start out with a little bit of capital, man, you are just miles ahead. Or you start investing early on and you're a millionaire, you know, by the time you're 60, instead of going paycheck to paycheck. That's what they told me in high school or middle school or something like that. But the rich get richer. This is very much true. And my man Selexin hooking it up with the 20k loan that we're going to go pay off soon. I don't know how you're going to get your hands on that gold. Maybe you're playing on a previous server that you already have a max level character on and you can farm some gold. But I would say what I've gained in 3 weeks with 20k gold would probably take me 9 to 10 weeks if I didn't have the gold to start up front. And I want to talk about choosing a server and why I chose Benediction. I played on Skyrim in Classic, and in Phase 2, the Alliance left, and then at the beginning of TBC, Skyrim just completely became non-existent. Everybody transferred off. So Skyrim, my first server I started on, didn't last very long. The beginning of TBC, I played with a lot of my buddies, Cargos and the boys, RXP guys, and a lot of streaming friends. We played on Bloodsail Buccaneers Horde side, because that's where we were doing the hardcore challenge, and it was a major flop. We had fun doing it, but being on a server with very few people, I think it was like 4 or 5k pop, we played on the minority faction and had a really rough time. And this idea of mega servers has become a thing for the first time in TBC. I think near the end of Classic and beginning of TBC it started to pop up, but this is kind of a foreign idea to Classic players, and it may not be the right server for you. Maybe you like the 5k small server pop size with very few layers, if not any. You know, there's a couple man cricks out there with 10k server pop, and then I think Firemaw, Gehennis, Benediction are all like 25, 30k pop. And so there is a little bit of difference between the two, but overall, I have had the best experience on this mega server. And times are a little bit different. I personally am not too worried about server identity, and I really like the convenience that a mega server offers in a game that maybe isn't always so convenient. I know over time World of Warcraft has become more convenient, and a lot of people think that's been to its downfall. But for some reason, it feels like we're in a sweet spot with the beginning of Classic and being on a server where all of your auctions sell instantly. Anything you want from the auction house is available, and you can buy it any time of day. If you want to level up in the open world, there's always people leveling. If you want to get boosted, there's always people boosting. If you want to join a raid, there's infinite raid groups. If you want to join a GDKP every single week, they're always there. If you have the gold, you can buy your gear. No problem, no doubts, no nothing. And those are all the conveniences, the luxuries of being on a mega server. And I just had a bad time my first two server choices, and going into Wrath of the Lich King, I think what's going to be a really great expansion and experience for a lot of you guys. I don't want to be ruined by not choosing the right server. I'm not saying you need to be on a mega server, but I overall have had a fantastic experience these first 3 weeks on Benediction. And I mean, the only downside is like server queues, right? The first month or two of Wrath of the Lich King being on one of these big servers, I guess you could just log in manually. That's what we did in Classic launch. But one thing that has really helped me over the last couple of years of Classic being out is this idea of embracing the meta. I played hardcore where I wanted to go back and kind of play the old school type of way. Leveling is really my favorite way to play the game. And maybe for a lot of you guys with these new changes, with the way Classic has rolled out, and it seems maybe a little bit foreign to you, it's not the game it once was. I've been a lot happier and had a really good time in the gaming, in the universe of Classic so far by embracing the meta. GDKPs are kind of a foreign idea. I know a lot of people think they ruin the game, and in some ways they definitely do, and in some ways they're really beneficial. Just sometimes it is dependent upon your perspective. And so I'm trying to just embrace the meta going into Wrath of the Lich King. And like I said, I'm somewhat a meta slave myself. I'm about to go boost 4 other alts at the same time, Druid, Warrior, and 2 Mages, just so I don't have to level those guys separately again. So I want to talk about how I leveled this guy up in the 3 weeks, what I would have done differently, what worked for me and what didn't. I did buy the 58 boost. It's only $20 right now. It saved me a ton of time. Like I said, remember, embrace the meta. I've leveled up a lot in hardcore. I've leveled up a lot in TBC, and I just really wanted to get things rolling again on this new account. And so I bought the 58 boost. I got a loan from one of my dudes on stream. It cost me, I think, about 2,500 gold to get boosted from 60 to 67 in slave pins, and then I spent another 1,800 gold going from 67 to 70 in Shadow Labs. And what I would have done differently is leveled in the Outlands and Hellfire until I got honored with Honor Hold. That way, as soon as I hit max level, I could do heroic Shattered Halls, because it was really difficult to find groups for these normal dungeon runs. And because you only need Honored to run heroics, you really should try and do it while you're leveling up. You just kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You save a little bit of gold from getting boosted, and it's just more efficient overall. So I would have quested there, and then once I was honored with Honor Hold, gone to Slave Pins, and then I would have left Slave Pins at 65 and bought the Shadow Labs boost from the 2 Mages. It does seem a little bit more expensive, but you do get twice the amount of XP, so you're not there for as long. And since I went there at 67 so late, by the time I hit 70, I was halfway through Revered. And if I would have been Exalted when I was 70, I could have bought my Spell Power Gavel right away. So maybe some other classes get some benefits from being Exalted with Lower City. But that's what I would have done differently. If you don't have gold, you could figure out how, maybe you have friends to get boosted while leveling up. I mean, come on, you could just play the game normally in Quest. But if you do end up getting boosted through dungeons, I have heard that you can make about 5,000 to 6,000 gold by completing all the quests in Outlands if you didn't do them while leveling up. And by the time I hit max level, like I said, I did 3 Karazhan lockouts on this guy so far, about 5 ZAs, and 1 Black Temple SSC TK GDAP. And the state that Benediction's in right now, it's so late into TBC, you can't get into those GDKPs unless you have minimum 15,000 gold. There's a lot of the runs going on, but they do require that you have a big bankroll. I found it difficult to put together heroic groups even on the biggest server right now because every single raid boss is dropping badges of justice, and so a lot of people are gearing up their alts with just badges from joining raids each week or having gold to buy their alts gear. So it has been kind of difficult gearing up the traditional way, partly because it's inefficient. Other people don't want to do it, and I also have a little bit of FOMO of not doing things as efficiently as possible. Where I spend 30-45 minutes in a heroic, sometimes I could spend 2 hours, 1 hour in ZA and Kara, like 3 hours in ZA and Kara, and get 36 badges, right? And then just wait till next week to get my badges again. So I've seen a lot of people doing that, and that's kind of been my experience so far. Maybe share yours if you're on a fresh account. But looking into Wrath of the Lich King, what am I going to do now that this guy has enough gear to boost in Stratholme? Hopefully I'm going to be able to do the big Stratholme boost, and not just the normal 3 pull like a lot of people do and then reset. I'm hoping to be able to pull, all of the live side and then a lot of the dead side in 2 pulls and be able to do 5 runs in 1 lockout. So we're going to be making a lot of gold. We'll be able to sell a lot of boosts that way. Pay off this loan and get ready for pre-patch. So that's one of the first things that's coming. What am I going to do in Wrath of the Lich King? I want to level and play one of each of the tank classes. With a new X-Pack, I know everybody has big expectations. And I always have these big plans on what I'm going to do, and I only have one main by the end of the expansion. And I don't even play all the way through it, right? So I'm trying to keep my expectations somewhat realistic, and I'd like to have a Druid, Warrior, Paladin, and Death Knight that I tank on. It'll be advantageous because I can run my own GDKPs. I can be either the host or I can be the tank and get a tank cut. And I do like tanking, so it'll be really fun to understand the tanking in an entire expansion if I play all 4 classes. I'm also going to gold farm on a Paladin and possibly 2 mages. I know that a lot of other people maybe have 2 mages on 2 separate accounts and they gold farm that way, so it's somewhat relatable. And then I am going to main a Death Knight, I think, and to farm achievements. I'm really excited about that. So hopefully outside of raid logging week in and week out, farming expansions and farming mounts and pets, maybe that aren't even tied to the achievements, but comparing my Death Knight to other Death Knights just because we all started at the same time is going to be really fun for me. So I'm going to spend a lot of time doing that, running heroics for mounts and pets each day on old content, as well as just farming all those achievements. In the pre-patch is going to be really fun. So I'm looking to farm about 80 to 100,000 gold for my Death Knight main whenever the server drops. I'm not even sure what I'm going to do whenever Wrath comes out. I might even level a Druid and just farm open world for 72 hours straight after I hit 68 or whenever you can do flying. Or I'm going to main a Death Knight for that first week, have a bankroll for him, and then with maybe 4 or 5 months before Wrath of the Lich King comes out from this video in May. I know a lot of people are thinking September or August is whenever Wrath is going to come out. I'd like to have maybe another 100,000 to buy that Death Knight gold to spend, have a lot of fun the first 4 weeks of Wrath of the Lich King being here, the pre-patch. And I just want to end the video off on saying, I might sound kind of sweaty. This might not sound like the normal hardcore, one life gaming, graze for days weirdo that I've been in the past, right? I'm not very much a meta slave. But if I am going to play Wrath of the Lich King, man, I'm going to play it with everybody else. I'm going to embrace the meta. And I'm just going to be as efficient and try and have as much fun as I can. Just like everybody else is in the game. I know each person tries and achieves that differently. But yeah, this idea of embracing the meta is what I'm coming into Wrath with. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for listening to me talk. Hopefully this is going to be a good series and one that you can follow along with on your fresh journey for Wrath of the Lich King. Thanks for watching.